rough, baby. Now I'm in different things. Is Jehovah's Witness in the house tonight? Jehovah? Because your ass should be home asleep right about now. You can wait yourself. Jehovah come back early. And one thing I learned about, don't open the door, don't, because you might as well make lunch. Because they're not going anywhere. But I do it. I open the door, but butt naked. When they start talking about watchtowers, listen, you stand around here one more minute, you be able to watch this tower. You will find religion this morning. And Jehovah won't be the only witness.
Welcome to the George Mason Show. And that was a little bit I do about Jehovah's Witness. That bit got me in trouble. At a gig one time, I was opening up for Jerry Butler, the Iceman, and one of his fans came to see him, didn't like it. He yelled out something. He actually turned his seat backwards. Not to face me, which was really disrespectful. I didn't even say nothing to him when he did it. That was his, prerogative. He came to see Jerry Butler, Mr. Butler, and that was that. But when Mr. Butler came out, he addressed that. He told the guy, yo, man, it's very disrespectful to that performer. He's a performer. He goes, whether you like what he was talking about or not, you should at least, not been as disrespectful as you were. And I appreciated that. I'm doing this. I'm out here new, and he didn't have to do that, is what I'm saying. And this is before this whole political correctness situation, meets when there was none of that. But so I thanked him for that. I appreciate it because it's a new day out here now, as you know. All the different situations that everybody is going through, comedians and such and so on, with everybody's trying to be politically correct, and it's just I don't know. We're in the holidays now, and I just want to wish everybody a good holiday, happy holiday season, and be safe. Be safe. First, before we get into, we got a great guest tonight, and before I bring him out, I just want to do some announcements. We have passing of Franco Harris, a great running back, Hall of Fame running back, and my condolences go out to his family. And of course, we had the Irene Cara, and the passing of that, and granddaddy IU, and it's just incredible. And from the Ellen DeGeneres show, Twitch, boss Twitch, he took his own life, and mental illness is a hell of a thing. And you know what? My mother, she used to mess with me. She used to always threaten to commit suicide, or she was always threatened to take her life. And I never knew what she was going through. I always thought she was happy. I thought it was, you can't tell. You can't, they would say, well, that brother, he's always smiling. But, that smile, it was a group called the Undisputed Truth back in the 70s. And they had this song. Play a little bit.
Smiling faces sometimes. They don't tell the truth. Smiling faces lies, and I got proof.
Yeah, because people are smiling. You never know what's really going on in their everyday, their day to day. That's what that is. That song basically breaks it down about that. And but yeah, my mother, I'd come home, and one time she's laid on the floor with she had slit her wrist, fake blood. She had ketchup and stuff, and I'm 8 years old, 9 years old, and I'm, Ma, I'm twisted. I'm all messed up. I can't, I don't know what's going on. But one time she did it, she had ropes, like the belt hanging. I don't know what was wrong with that lady. You know what I'm saying? To take me through all that. And I'm a kid. I'm what 8, 9 years old. One time I said, you know what? You know, I got it back. I come home. A couple of months had passed, and she's laid out. She got pills spewed all around the floor, and she's out. And I started, Ma, Ma, oh, why'd you go? You go, and you didn't even buy me that bike. She jumped up. She said, "What? Buy you the bike? What are you talking about?" She was twisted. you didn't even, you know what I mean? Like, you gone, and she's like, "You talking about? I'm dead on the floor here." But yeah. So that's I'm telling you, and we don't know what kids go through on a daily. Like I said, I used to come home, she'd jump out of the closet. She was crazy. God bless the dead. That's my baby. We had a great relationship and stuff like that. She was wild. But yeah, like I said, I got a great guest tonight, man. And we go back, man. We go all the way back. But I want to bring this brother out. Before I do that, I want to read his bio of his accomplishments, and he's done an incredible body of work, and it's something he should be proud of. I'm proud of him, for putting work in on the scale that he's doing now. He's busy, and as you see, his name is Gilbert Tucker. Okay, but I want to give you the whole breakdown of Mr. Tucker. He's an actor. He's an entertainer. He's a comedian, writer, huh? And Gil Tucker, better known as Gil T. That's what he used to go by, for a minute there. And he'll tell you about that when he gets out here. All right. He's an 2018 Adultco award-winning actor and comedian who's been entertaining audiences since he was age 15. Gil T went to the prestigious Performing Arts School in New York City. Irene Cara, as we had just mentioned, passing of fame, where he was one of 3 students who received the Certificate of Merit for Excellence in Acting in his senior year. Since that time, he has been an actor, solo stand-up comic, and for 25 years, he appeared as Dark Gable Most. All right, that's where I met him at back in the day there. And Dark Gable Most with the comedy team, the Most Brothers, which they were so funny, very hilarious. He was headlined and performed in Vegas at the Tropicana and in Riviera, and in Atlantic City at the Taj Mahal, okay? The Borgata, and he was also second place finalist out of 200 comedians. You hear me? 200 comedians, and he's also played in Hollywood, in California, at the Comedy Store, which Mitzi Shore, Big Comedy Club, Richard Pryor, Robin Williams, Sam Kinison, you named it, they performed there. They came through there. So he worked that room as well. And also in New York, he did the Garden, Madison Square Garden, the Apollo, Gotham, all the major comedy clubs here in the Carolines, Dangerfield, Broadway, the list goes on and on. And he also opened for, he worked with In Vogue, Blue Magic, Roy Ayers, heavy. We're talking heavy, all right? And Guilty, he also worked with comedians like Chris Rock, Chappelle, Martin Lawrence, Kevin James, and King of Queens. And he's got his acting chops together now, and he's built a strong base as an actor. He has appeared in motion pictures such as The Stock Room. Got a long list. He got up here Law and Order. I know you're talking about Law and Order. He got Floor. I know maybe that's a play on words, whatever. I'm gonna read it as I see it here. And a Wilder and the Bear. I like that. That was good. Wilder and the Bear, Snitch in New York, Pressure, Deep Trouble, All Saints Day, Coming to America, and more. Guilty has also acted in many live theater performances like Meet Me at the Oak, When Good Men Are Tempted, Kingfish, Amos and Andy. And in 2005 to 2007 and in 2017, Barber Dashes. He'll tell us about that. He's also going to talk about all these things, what he's got coming down the pipe, And in 2003 and 2018, he was invited to the 2019 National Black Theater Festival and received 4 standing ovations and 4 sold out shows. He stars also in a one-man show called Guilty as Red Fox. And we'll show some of those pictures when he comes up, which he also wrote and he continues to perform. He's also received fantastic reviews and an Adulco Award for Best Feature Actor for his portrayal of Sergeant Waters in the Negro Ensemble comedy reboot of A Soldier's Play, which also won an Adulco Award for Best Revival of 2018. Guilty as wrote and is currently writing several original screenplays and sitcoms. I want to talk to him about some stuff too. I've got some stuff he might be interested in. One screenplay was optioned by an independent film company, and he was the head of an independent film company, and he was received the head writer for a nationally syndicated TV show for LTV called La Gamo. That's the Spanish thing. And without further ado, please, let's bring out now Guilty. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Long time, man. It's been a minute.
How you been, Mr. Mason?
The hour is almost up, man. Just reading your.
I don't know why you read all of that, man. I was like, he could have cut that down.
Nah, but you know what? You just want to give, credit what credit is due. My grandmother used to say, give props, put the props in place, and let people know exactly what's what. On that. But no, it all has to do with you doing the work, putting in the work, and then you can elaborate on what I've just broke down to them. Right. It's on you, your platform, brother.
Well, basically, man, I did the stand up for years, and this is my way of paying the bills. When you got a family and you got I got 5 kids, so I had to get out there and do what I had to do, and comedy basically paid the bills, and I made some good cash while I was working with the Most Brothers, and we traveled constantly. We worked a lot as a comedy team, and then eventually, I kind of felt like, well, it's time to move on and do what I wanted to do, which is the acting. So I finally got back into the acting. I was dibbling and dabbling for a little while doing stand up and the acting. I'm back to doing that now because the pandemic shut everything for a minute. So now I'm finally back to doing what I had to do. The blessing was that this year I went up to New York in March to do one play. That play we wound up doing 29 shows.
Wow.
Doing that, and that show was called Black Love. We had a ball. It was a beautiful cast. We did it out of a theater out in Queens called the Black Spectrum Theater. So I worked with them for a minute. That play wound up taking me into another show called Oya, which is based on Orishas and that type stuff. The crazy thing is that the director had been wanting to work with me for a while. He said, "Look, man, I really want you to do this show." I had no idea what was entailed in the show, what was involved with the show. Next thing you know, I said, "All right, look, man, I'll do the show." I wound up taking the show. Come to find out, man, it was predominantly African dance.
Mm.
And since I hadn't did anything physically, for over 2 years, man, coming out of that pandemic, that wore my ass. Wore me out, man. Wore me out. But it was a great experience. A brother named David Wright wrote it, directed it, and we had another wonderful cast. From that show, I wound up doing another show which is was written by a woman called Jeanette Hill. It was a short production, a short show, and that was called Beginning Again Again, where I played this sleazy landlord who was over there hitting all his female tenants, man. He owned a lot of buildings, so he was tearing up stuff, man. The guy was
You were busy.
crazy,
You were
but
busy. Yeah.
it was fun as hell. And while I was doing that, we did that outside during the summer. While I was doing that, I get a call from a producer. Woman's name is Janelle Scarborough, and she called me. She said, I worked with you in the past. She sent me a clip of a movie that we had done that we were both in some years ago. I was like, wow. And so she turned around and said, well, look, we're taking a play to the National Black Theater Festival, and we want you involved. Now, it was intimidating because at least 3 or 4 of the actors were regular Broadway actors. I'm talking about people like one of the brothers was in the original Lion King when they hit Broadway.
Okay.
This brother was also in Jelly's Last Jam with the Hines brothers. He's a triple threat, sung, dance, all that stuff. Brother named Stanley Wayne Mathis. He was one of the actors. Another actor was a brother named Kim Sullivan, who basically he stepped out because he got a job understudying on one of the shows on Broadway that's on Broadway now. And then there was another brother named Jerome Preston Bates, who does a lot of August Wilson plays on Broadway. So at any rate, I get this call to audition. I auditioned for there was 2 different roles that they wanted me to audition for. What was funny was a lot of the roles that I've been playing recently were older men, like in their 70s and their 80s. This role was for a guy in his mid 40s. So I auditioned for it, and sure enough, they said, well, you could do. They had me audition for both roles, and I wound up getting the role for the younger cat. But the thing about it was, the guy's name was Tucker. I said, man, this is a blessing. This is a sign from God. I should be doing this piece.
Right.
Man, that was it was called Greenwood, was based on the stuff that went on in Oklahoma with Black Wall Street when they wiped out their whole area. And the way it's written, it's a heavy piece, but they wanted to show the love that these people had for one another before everything hit. So the whole play is basically showing all of these characters how much they loved one another. And then all of a sudden, at the end of the show is when, everything jumps off. And, that's when they wiped out that whole town.
Yeah.
Basically, they wiped out that. What's funny is that I found out, you find out so many things. It's like I didn't realize that the Gap Band, that the letters GAP stood for 3 different areas in Oklahoma. So one is Greenwood. I can't remember the second area, but they had all these different areas. So those that GAP was basically based on 3 different areas in Oklahoma. That I think it was the A stood for Archer, but these were 3 different areas that met together that were all Black, and they wiped that whole area out. So the Gap Band basically, those initials were basically to represent for that area that all those got wiped out. I didn't even realize that until I did the play. So that show wound up going to the National Black Theater Festival. That festival is the top Black theater festival in the country.
Wow, incredible.
And it takes place in North Carolina. And usually when you don't see a lot of actors, and you be like, well, you see a lot of actors on TV and film, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, what happened to so-and-so? What happened to so-and-so?
All
They're doing theater. They're doing theater, and they pop up. All of them show up. All of them show up down there. So it's it was such a blessing to do that show, and that was just before the pandemic hit. We had did another show, which was let me see, what was the name of the show? We had did a show called Reunion in Bartlesville, which was that was a great experience, and that came out of the Black Theater, Black Spectrum Theater. We wound up taking that down to the festival, and that's where we got like 4 shows, 4 standing ovations.
Oh,
Now that's what put me back on the map. A friend of mine's named Fulton C. Hodges, I had did a Soldier's Play with him years ago, and he called me up. He said, "Man, it's a damn shame that you down in Miami, because the Negro Ensemble Company, they're getting ready to produce and reboot a Soldier's Play." And he said, "It's too bad that you down in Miami." I said, "Man, look, find out the information as far as when the audition is. I will come up." When I got the information, I drove up. I didn't have time. I didn't have time to book a flight, so I drove up, got up there, and
How
auditioned
many
for.
hours on the road were you? That's at least 16, no?
Say it again.
How many hours were you on the road driving? At least 16, no?
No, that's like 20 hours, man. That's like a 20-hour
20.
drive.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's like a 20-hour drive, maybe more, maybe more.
Mhm.
But we did a reboot of a Soldier's Play for Negro Ensemble Company, and that basically brought that show back. So we did it, and the director was a gentleman named Charles Weldon. I don't know if you ever saw. He did so many things, but there was a movie, Stir Crazy, with
Richard
Richard
Pryor
Pryor.
and
Now,
Gene Wilder, yeah.
right, he played the guy that was the head black guy in the prison. He was the one that was telling them. He said, "Man, there's a certain word you got to say to piss off this bull." And he was saying, so, and that was Charles Weldon. But Charles was a wonderful man, man. And come to find out, his best friend was Adolf Caesar.
Okay.
And Adolf was the person that originally did A Soldier's Play. And when Charles met me, he said, "Man, I'm looking at you and I'm listening to you." And he said, "All I see is my best friend, Adolf." So that was a blessing, because once I did that show, it opened up a lot of doors as far as Black theater in New York City. And I've been getting calls and working ever since that. As a matter of fact, if it wasn't for that particular show, was the catalyst, because what Charles Weldon wanted to do, he wanted to take that show with that cast to Broadway.
Okay.
And but he died shortly after we won the awards for the show. He was in the hospital. He had cancer. And right behind that, another company called Roundabout Theater Company, they turned around and put the show up on Broadway. So we didn't, and none of our cast got into that show, but that's what David Allen Greer won the Tony for playing Sergeant Waters in that. And I respect David, because we had worked with David when I was with the Most Brothers. We worked with David way back in the day. We went on tour with the Apollo, and he was the host of the show that we were doing. Matter of fact, he closed out the show. It was while he was doing The Living Color. And he would close out the show. He'd come out with the guitar. He said, "I wrote a song about it. Want to hear it? Here it go." So
That's funny. I just like that bit.
but yeah, nice brother though.
He was cool, but he was in the movie with Denzel in the Soldier's Story.
Exactly. And the
Yeah.
Soldier Story was basically the play that they just rewrote it. They just updated it a little bit for film. So pretty much, if you saw A Soldier Story, you have basically all the dialogue is pretty much the same for A Soldier's Play. Other than the only difference is that one is on stage and the other one was on film.
And Is this brother here supposed to be CJ Memphis?
No, that was he played Private Wilkie, who was a sergeant who he busted. Sergeant
Busted
Waters
down.
in the movie.
Yeah.
He busts him and takes his stripes. So that was that scene. But the brother that I'm talking to was actually the brother that called me to say, "Yo, man, you need to come up to audition for a Soldier's Play." And him and I, we do a lot of work together. Matter of fact, we doing him and I doing The Odd Couple together at the Black Spectrum Theater. We've already booked that to do that in May of 2023. I'm playing Oscar, he's playing Felix. So we should have a ball doing that.
Yeah, that's gonna be it. And your time with the Most Brothers, right? You put 25 years in there, and that definitely had to prepare you as far as like the improvisational. You got to be quick on your feet, man. Up there on the stage, and uh, sometimes your partner might forget a line. Maybe you forget. What happens when you forget I'll have you forgot the line?
Well, you mean on stage during a play?
Doing
It
the play,
happens, and that's the thing about doing live theater. You never know what's going to happen, and
right?
if you have, that's why it always pays to be on stage with a solid professional, because a lot of times one or both of you might drop a line, and if you're with somebody that really knows their work, they can catch you before you fall or catch the scene and find a way to work in that next line that'll pull you back to where you have to be. So it
You
happens.
gotta, and then I know, like with some pieces, right, work where a director, and you need, as you said, a solid professional, because the writers, I've been around a lot of theater and stuff as well, and the writers sometimes they get crazy because this is not what this is not where I wanted to go, because the directors they want to take it where they feel their vision is, and the writers like, hey man, look, it gets a little the creative process, as give us some stories as far as like what was the most challenging, you know. It's on
Well,
you, baby.
there's always something when you're doing shows. There's always something, but you have to basically, as an actor, you need to know where the scene is going. If you know where the scene is going, you can even if you drop a line or you forget a line, you can steer it to where it needs to go. And if you're with
What about
somebody,
the director doesn't know where it's going on? What if the director doesn't really have a direct vision on the piece? He or she is not really certain. Like I said, the writers sometimes they're like, "What are you doing? Why are you? What
well,
you
writers,
ruining?" Right.
yeah, writers, most writers are very particular. They 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 want every word said the way it's written,
The way it's
and
written.
right, and you have to you need to know exactly what you do. I'll never forget. There was a show that I was doing, and there was a particular scene where the director basically, most directors, if you're a good actor, they'll allow you to go where you want to go. The main thing is that you stick to the script and you stick to your blocking. um Blocking actually helps you as an actor, because usually you'll know that, all right, if I'm standing at this particular spot at this particular time, I know I'm getting ready to say this particular thing. So that helps a lot as far as when you're up there on the stage. um at the same time, you have actors that'll get on stage and try to change the blocking on you. And if they change the blocking on you, then it may throw that particular scene, or they might upstage your character and stuff like that.
Versus an actual. How many times like you have cats that try to upstage you, as you just said? Explain to the viewers too what blocking is.
Okay, blocking is basically all right, let's say for instance, if you're on stage and the director might say, all right, on this particular line that you're about to deliver, I want you to be stage left, which if you're sitting in the audience, stage left would be stage right, would be your right hand side. So stage right would be the audience's left side, but you're facing the audience, so your stage left would be to your left hand as an actor. So they would be saying, well, look, I need you to be stage left, moving stage to the center of the stage. And then you got upstage and you got downstage. So downstage would be closer to the audience. Upstage would be toward the backstage. So they will say, all right, I want you to move on this particular line. I want you to move from stage left to stage right, or stage right center. And usually if you don't make that move, there's a reason for your blocking, because if you don't make that move, there might be another actor that has to occupy that space that you're standing in now. If you don't move when you're supposed to, then you may block that person from the audience so that when they deliver their line, they can't be seen by the audience. So that would be, if you're standing in front of that person and they're talking to you, that would be basically upstaging that person. If you're standing in front of them when they're delivering their lines, you're upstaging that person, and the audience is looking at you as opposed to looking at the person that's delivering the line. So you have certain people that sometimes they'll move where they're not supposed to. They're moving when they're not supposed to be moving, and it'll avert the audience's eyes from you to that other person that just moved. Meanwhile, now they're supposed to be paying attention to you and what you're saying. So if they're moving when you're delivering your line, that might be a way of upstaging you so that the audience isn't catching what you necessarily have to say. So that would be a way of upstaging another actor. So there's times when you know that when the director tells you, well, I want you to move from point A to point B, that helps you. Also, it helps you with your lines, because you know that I'm standing over here on the right, stage right, when I'm delivering this particular line toward this person. So, and the thing that you have to understand as an actor is the difference between stand-up and theater. When you're doing stand-up, you see the audience, you talk to the audience, you work with the audience. So if something happens in the audience as a comedian, if you don't say something about it, or you don't basically respond to it, you lose your audience, because right away, if something happens, the audience all looks to see what happens. So you have to, as a comedian, in order to grab the audience back, you have to say something about that situation so that they'll pay attention to you. Whereas as an actor, that where the audience is, that's a wall. There is nobody there. That's just, so you basically, the scene takes place within that particular place on that stage. So there's nothing outside that stage unless you're looking out the window. You get what I'm saying? Other than that, you're in that place at that particular time talking to those particular people. And that's basically the difference. So if something happens in the audience while you're on stage doing theater, you can't even deal with it.
Can't address that.
Yeah, with your next line, you can't address it. So that's the difference between stand-up and theater. That makes a big difference.
A lot of times have you given a line to a actor and you lose them. They don't know where they're at.
It happens, and when it happens, what you need to do as an actor, you need to try and know, like I said, if you know where the scene is going, then you can basically try and find a way to bring them back by saying something that deals with the next line that they have to deliver.
Mm-hmm.
And that might bring them back. There's been times when I've been on stage and I dropped a line, and you can usually tell because both of you will be looking at one another like,
Yeah.
Yo, but the funniest thing, I just finished the last show I did in New York was a show also written by a woman named Jeanette Hill, and it was called Picking Up the Pieces. And I played this ex-husband who was just would just say would be he was coming by the house. He would still come by the house and make love to his wife and whatnot, his ex-wife, but at the same time he had his young thing on the side.
Okay.
Now what was hilarious was there's a certain point where my character is just laying into his ex-wife. He's saying stuff to her that is pissing the people in the audience, especially the women in the audience, pissing the women off. I said something to her, man, and next thing you know, somebody in the audience said, slap him. And at that particular point, she was getting ready, what I say to her, she's getting ready to break out into tears. So usually she starts crying. But as soon as this person said, slap him, now we're looking at one another and we're both trying to hold it because neither one of us want to bust out laughing.
Right.
So it's like, so you got to like kind of turn your head from the audience because the audience is different. You can turn your head from the audience so you can regroup and get back into it. But, you know, things like that, it happens, especially in black theater. You never know what the audience is going to. It's like when they go to the movies and they're yelling at the movie, you know, don't go in there, that kind of stuff. It's like I handed her a lease that I wanted her to sign for this house I want to rent. And as I'm handling right away, the people in the audience are like, don't sign it. Don't sign it. You know, that kind of stuff. So it could be hilarious on nights. You just gotta hold it and keep it moving.
Tempted sometimes. You ever like you know, give the audience something back, like he says, slap it, slap him, you know.
Oh, let me tell you, that same show, I played such a nasty character. By the end of the show, when we coming up to do our bows, that's the character right there, as a matter of fact. At the end of the show, I'm coming up, you know, the whole cast comes up, everybody takes their separate bows. We bow together, then everybody individually takes their bows. And I come up and I bow, and when I bowed, they started booing.
What?
Not
you did your job.
Not because they didn't like my performance.
No, the character, they loved it.
Right.
You were so believable. You were a rotten individual, man. So they hated you. So they're booing on the street for the character.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now I bowed and they started booing, and I stood up. I said, well, boo yourself, damn it. And man, all the audience and the cast, we all bust out laughing.
It fell out.
You know,
yeah.
So you never know what's going to happen. Yeah, we all laughed, man. So there are times you can, but if I am going to say something, if I am going to say something, it's after we finish the show. I can't say anything to the audience while we in the middle of the show because it'll take away from what we're doing up there.
Right.
You know, but it could be fun as hell some nights, man. Matter of fact, when I get back to New York, we're also going to be doing. They told me I'm putting that show back up again, also. So that show right there, man. In all the years that I've been on stage doing theater, I have never seen the audience respond like they were responding to that particular show. It was such a great response, you know. So you never know.
And this is when you received your award?
Actually, that's when I received the award. And just to show you how God works, there was a woman that was running the Adelcos at the time. Her name was Grace Jones, not the Grace Jones, the singer, but her name was Grace Jones. That's me with Diana Ross's daughter.
What? Okay.
Yeah, they asked me to host. And the reason they asked me to host was because of the fact that that particular woman, Grace Jones, she had came to see a Soldiers play, and she just liked my she just liked me as a person, and she said she had told the other Adelco people that she said it would be so nice to bring him in the host. And so that year I hosted, and we won Best Revival for a Soldiers play, and I won Best Featured Actor. The funny thing was that they had gave me the envelope to go out and say who was nominated and who won. And I told him, I said, you don't want to give me this envelope, because if I go out there and they give me this envelope, whether I win or lose, if I'm saying who's nominated, I'm gonna say I won. So so they gave it to somebody else to announce. But it was just a it was a blessing. It was a blessing. I think they haven't asked me to host again, and I think what it was that I started acting up, because you know, you got to read all the damn names, and I was trying to read some of them. I couldn't say the name right to save my life, and I
Couldn't
was
get it.
like, I messed up the name, so the people in the audience kept yelling the name out. And I said, "What's the name?" And they said so and so. I said, "Well, it's what I said just now from now on." And they got pissed off. So maybe that's the reason why they never asked me to host again. But I had a ball that year, man. I had a ball.
Wow. So this is was this the same
That was the same year. That brother name is Ty Stevens, and he's one of those brothers. He's a triple threat. That award was I was giving him his award when he won that year.
okay. And this here is
That's a compilation of some of the work that I did. Sergeant Waters, the guy after that, where I'm wearing the trench coat. I was actually, there was I did a video for Wu-Tang, and
okay.
they did a takeoff of the movie Seven. So I basically played Morgan Freeman's role, and they did promo, and we did 3 different promos, and then we did the video, and that was me doing the character. The thing about that, when we were doing it, it was called Wu Massacre, because at the time it was just 3 of them that was doing it. And me playing the detective, I had to question Method Man in like the interrogation room. So here I am talking to him, and if you ever saw the movie Seven, there's a part where you see a guy laying in a bed, and he's like nothing but skin and bones, and they got all these air fresheners in there. And we come in, and on the wall over the bed that he's laying on, written in shit, was Sparks. But they actually used refried beans and wrote the word Sparks, which is one of Wu-Tang's nicknames, because you know all of them have more than one name.
Right.
And so as I'm questioning him in the interrogation, I'm showing him the picture, and I'm saying, now he's keeping, you know, he's playing this hard role. So I'm saying to him, I said, yo, man, let me ask you a question. I said, written over this guy's bed in shit was Sparks. I said, now whose shit did y'all use for that? Was it his shit or your shit, man? He bust out laughing. He said, yo, man, you can't be doing that. You can't be doing. You see, I'm trying to play the serious character. Don't be doing that. But yeah, man. I did like 3 different videos for a director named Rick Cordero. Another one that I did was what was it called? Capone and Noriega had a video that they did, and I was in that one. And that one, he did a takeoff of movie Life. So in the beginning of it, I'm the guy that couldn't read when they pulls out the letter and say, look, you know, you need to read. So yeah, that was a fun little piece also, man. You know, so
yeah, that was when the dude read all the deaths and shit of the family was on.
Yeah, your sister died. The dog got worms. You know, yeah. So we had fun with that. We had fun with that, man. You know, you gonna eat your cornbread. You know, we had a ball with that. We shot all that stuff, man. So that was fun.
So what's coming down the pipe though? What I know you said you did some movies and stuff that you got in the works.
There's a brother that I met here that's now on the West Coast. He's doing a film. I'm not at liberty to say the name of the film or anything at this point, but he wants me to come out and do the film, and I'm going to be playing Red Fox in that movie. So it's only like it's only a couple of scenes that I'm in, but he's flying me out next month to go out there and shoot that. And well, there's another play that I was supposed to be doing called Red Triple X, which was written by a brother named Jamal Williams. Great piece, and it takes place on the day that Red Fox dies. But the three people in the play are Red Fox, Della Reese, and LaWanda Page. So at this point, he's in the process of doing rewrites. In the meantime, like I said, I'm definitely doing The Odd Couple in May, and we're going to be doing we're also going to be doing the play that I just finished up called Picking Up the Pieces. They're putting that back up again. I think that might be in sometime in March, probably. So just trying to stick with it and stay busy. Right now, I'm back in Miami, but heading back up to New York soon.
How long you been there in Miami?
About 12 years. About 12 years.
Wow.
But the thing about it is that I'd say close to 6 months out the year, I'm in New York working.
Okay.
The blessing with that is that, when I'm in New York, I usually stay with my oldest daughter, and because four of my kids live in New York, and one of them lives in North Carolina. So and my oldest daughter, when I'm in New York, I usually stay with her, and I respect her, and she, because she was one of out of all my children, she was the only one that kind of followed in my footsteps. She was on Broadway and everything. She was on Broadway in a play called Wait Until Dark with Marissa Tomei and Quentin Tarantino. But you got to have thick skin if you're going to be an actor, because you have to be able to deal with rejection. And after a while, she was just like, Dad, I'm done with this. All right, cool. Now she's a funeral director. So I told her, I said, well, you ain't never gonna be broke, baby. Because people always dying.
Oh, that's a hell of a leap. I mean, from from stage, from this thing to that's a hell of a What made you want to transition to go into that? I was just
I really couldn't say. But I'll tell you this much: she realized that her hands were seriously full around once the pandemic hit, and so she was saying that the crazy thing about it is that everybody was giving kudos to the first responders, but nobody was really even thinking about the last responders and the amount of people that died. These funeral homes were overrun with people, with bodies. So I'd say about 2 years into the pandemic, she was like, I ain't had enough of this. So she switched, and now she, even though she used to do embalming and all that stuff, now she's dealing with, now she works at the graveyard at the cemetery, selling plots and all that kind of stuff. So, I like I said, I take my hat off to her. My whole thing is anything my children do, I will back them. I got one daughter that sings like an angel, but her thing now is she does she's an eyelash technician. That's what she does. I got one of my sons is another one of my sons, he's a rapper. He's been rapping ever since he was young. That's his thing. So, but my whole thing is everything that they do, I will push my children. And if they decide, well, hey, that's not what I want to do, fine. What you want to do, because I will back you in whatever you do. Another one of my children is followed in my footsteps in the sense that I've always been in the natural herbs. You know, I can tell you if you having a problem physically, I can tell you what herb to take, what will help you out and all that stuff. And so one of my sons, that's what he does now. You know, he's matter of fact, he's vegan. I can't I'm telling man, I ain't messing with that. I like my meat, so I can't be you know, but that's what he does, you know. And then my last son, the one in North Carolina, he works with a flower company. And what he does for them is he's in charge of all their he basically sets up all the deliveries and all that stuff to make sure everything goes where it needs to go. So, you know, like I said, I'm glad that I'm
Yeah.
just glad they're all grown, man, because now, you know, and I'm thankful that they're all still alive because, you know, it ain't easy out here. It ain't easy out
No,
here. So
not at all. And you still are doing shows, stand up. I know that you were recently here in New York. Matter of fact, I'm in New York City for those who don't know. Are you on Eastern Standard Time as well in Miami, right?
yeah, Miami, we on the
Yeah,
East Coast.
on East Coast, right?
Mhm.
You know, because we got the viewers. We switched the format a little bit, so we had viewers before that was from Wisconsin. Had the creative consultant. He's actually in the UK, on the other side of the pond. Yeah, and Portsmouth. It spells Portsmouth, but they pronounce it Portsmouth, United Kingdom. You know, so all throughout Connecticut and all over different time zones and stuff. We got the holidays now, so that kind of threw, you know. But
Yeah,
you know, so it's all good. You
you
did
know,
all.
man, all I'm gonna say is that, you know, I my heart went out to all of us as entertainers because once the pandemic hit, um, we were all out of work. You know,
Yeah.
what saved me was the fact that and as a matter of fact, um it actually got me seen by more people because I wound up working with different people on Zoom. So
Okay.
I did a lot of shows on Zoom, and people throughout the country, people as far as like you were saying in other countries, got to see some of my work that ordinarily wouldn't have seen me. So
Yeah.
it kind of opened up other doors. So so in one sense it was really rough financially. On the other hand, it was a blessing because it opened up other doors that I didn't even realize were out there, you know, or you knew were out there, but there was no way to get in contact with those doors. So now that helped out a lot.
Because I know back in the day, like when you were on the telephone trying to, you know, you got these different agents, Gary Grant, Rick Morgan, Phil Selman, John Schuler, you
Yeah,
know, all those
yeah.
cats, man. And you know, you get your work. I was working with Creative Talent Agency out in Charlotte. Yeah, you
Yeah, I
know,
remember
back in
creating.
yeah, seeing he's come through. I see Bruce working with those cats, Adele Gibbons, you know, Joe Torre and Steve Harvey was big with creative. You go to the rooms, and especially the one in Charlotte, they had his pictures all over. This is before he blew, you know, before the Def Jam and all that. A lot of them cats, man, have been out there. Like Bernie. Bernie was in Chicago for almost 25 years before he got his shot on
That
Def
was
Jam.
Bernie. That was Bernie's
You know,
thing.
that was his
And
thing.
Bernie, if you ask me, as far they were right to let him headline that tour of the Kings
Well,
of Comedy because
follow him.
I don't think any of those guys could have followed him, man.
No,
None of those guys could have followed.
the closest to him probably was at that time was DL, the closest. But Steve Harvey, now from what I heard, I don't know. You know, Joe Torre, heard guy, his brother Guy. Guy initially was on the tour, as you know, you probably know. Yeah, Guy was he was the one he left because the smoke was too much for him. He even said it. He said, "No, I can't. I don't deserve to be here." That's deep. But
Yeah, that's
yeah,
deep.
guy, you know, but that's funny. But he's not in, I guess he felt he wasn't in that echelon, that class. and they were trying to have Steve. From what I heard, Steve was supposed to be closing the show. Come on now, yeah,
Yo,
come on.
Steve did it right. He did it right. He stepped down
Yo,
and
he stepped
hosted,
up.
and at the same time, um, he was a great host. So
He's a
it wound up working for them that way. And Cedric just got his own style, so I always enjoyed Cedric as well. You know,
yeah, he's funny.
so it was a great lineup. It was a great lineup, man.
Yeah.
You know, but like we were saying, I didn't see anybody following Bernie, man. Bernie was just in a class by himself. You know,
But
that's like trying like, um taking these comics now. So, Richard Pryor. You don't want the only person back in the day that probably was in that same class was Red Fox, and Red Fox was the person that put Richard Pryor on, because Richard Pryor was out there, but actually Richard Pryor was almost identical to Bill Cosby. He used to go on stage with a black suit and a tie, white shirt and a tie, and work clean. And at a certain point, he was like, "Yo, I can't do this. So I can't be myself." And he started working out with Red Fox. Red Fox had his own room out there in Crenshaw, and they started doing shows. As a matter of fact, the first album that Richard Pryor ever put out there was called, I think it was called Two Jokers or Jokers or something like that. And Richard Pryor was on one side of the album, and Red Fox was on the other side of the album. And that was the first album that
might have been
Pryor
Joe.
did.
And then
And
he
after,
did Crafts After Hours,
and then he
which was
blew up
another.
after that.
He blew
And
up after that.
he also take that in Red Fox's club, you know. So those two were as a matter of fact, there's another brother that approached me that is supposed to be working on a play, a 2-man play with Red Fox and Richard Pryor. And I'm
Okay.
waiting on that. You know,
Yeah.
years ago, Monteria Ivy had approached me. He had just finished writing a screenplay based on Red Fox's life and wanted me to do Red. And I think it was 2 weeks after that he died. And I was like, wow, what were the odds of that? You know, and I never heard about that screenplay again. I would love to have contacted his people to find out if they still had that, because I know he worked on that, because he ran into one day and he was like, "Yo, man, I got this screenplay and I want you to play Red." So that's what, because nobody do Red like I do Red, damn it.
And did you ever try to get in touch with his partner, Steven, the lawyer, the attorney? They used to do the Iman show together. You know, he probably would have
I never knew. I never knew who he was. I didn't know, have oh, I know you talking about when he was with
Iman in the morning.
well, remember Monteria Ivy, was 3 of them. It was 2 brothers and a white guy. That's what they used to call themselves.
Okay.
And
It was
after Monteria passed away, I lost contact with those guys. So I don't know what happened to them. I would love to contact them to find out if either of them found out about that screenplay.
That
You know,
screenplay.
that was something nice to do.
Yeah. You do
That
an
great.
excellent, because you're almost a splitting image of Adolph Caesar, the great actor who you portrayed in A Soldier's Play. You know, but just the whole facial thing, when I can see you like in character and full garb, and I know people will look like you hear it all the time,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yo, that particular thing, man, that basically put me on the map, because I had been doing theater for years, but A Soldier's Play was what put me on the map throughout New York City as far as black theater, and that's what opened up a lot of doors. So I owe it to the Negro Ensemble Company for that, as well as Charles Weldon. I will never forget him, man. He, that brother was, I still think of him as my mentor. And if it was up to me, I would always work with him, man. Just great people. I was sorry to see him go, but phenomenal. Matter of fact, he was in one of the Red Fox movies. I mean, Red Fox is he was on Sanford and Son.
What did he play?
If you remember, there was in Sanford and Son, Red Fox or Fred G. Sanford. A lot of people don't even know Fred G. Sanford was actually Red Fox's brother's name.
His brother.
It was his father's name, but he didn't like his father. So, but Fred G. Sanford was actually his brother's name, and he loved his brother. So that's where he took the name for Sanford and Son. But in a particular episode, there was a guy that was supposed to be a thief that was dressed as a woman, and Red took a liking to the woman, rented the room, and kept hitting on the woman, not realizing that it was a man, and it was actually played by Charles Weldon. He played that character.
Weldon.
Yeah, Charles
That was
Weldon.
Sanford Arms. That wasn't Sanford or something. That was Sanford Arms.
Exactly. That was the episode. And my man was in the room smoking a cigar, and all of a sudden the knock on the door and Red trying to get some, It was hilarious. But yeah, you're right. That was Sanford Arms. You're right.
Yeah. But classics.
Yeah.
Classics. Like you say, a lot of people didn't know. You dropped a jewel when you were saying about how Richard was trying to be Bill. And I seen one time an old episode of the Ed Sullivan Show when Pryor came out. He's got the sweater, and he said, "My dad," like you said, the suit. My dad. And I'm like, "Whoa, what the?" But
Yeah,
it was
he decided that's not where he wanted to go. Started doing shows with Red at the club. And
but you heard how he came out of it.
He disappeared for about 2 years. And when he came back fire. He came back with
But you heard what, not to cut you, but you heard what happened. Now I don't know how true it is. Maybe you have more insight into it. Well, he was in Vegas, allegedly, and he was, on the. He wasn't happy doing the clean, because as you said, that wasn't him. And he allegedly got butt naked. He got high. He went upstairs, got butt naked, and he came out on the blackjack table. He said, "Blackjack," and the rest is history. Richard was rich.
It's funny. You know who used to do a joke about that? Cosby.
Oh, really?
Cosby had a joke that he did about that, where he said that this somebody got so drunk that they ran out to the they ran out on the casino floor butt naked, jumped on the table and said, "Blackjack."
Black, like that. Yeah. That was supposed to be pride.
That's where that came from. That's where that joke came from.
Okay. But yeah, it was. But yeah, he made that. I had an album one time. I forget the name of it. With Pryor, he's going through his transitional thing where, he's he didn't know who he was at all. He hadn't found his voice yet, and he's sitting there. Because he's just a funny guy. Period. Just to watch him, but he's sitting there. He's got like the red, white, and blue around his head, and then the black, red, black, and green. He's just conflicting. You know which one I'm talking about? Yeah.
I know the album. I can't remember the name of the album right now, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I know the one thing that always made me laugh about their relationship, Richard Pryor and Red, anytime at the club, at the end of the night, everybody else would go home, and Richard Pryor and Red Fox would sit there just doing
their thing, yeah,
doing coke. And I never forget, because it's in one of Red Fox's books where he said Pryor was saying to him, he said, "Man, I don't know, He said, "Why is it when I hang out with you that I'm always doing all this cocaine?" And he said, Red said to him, he said, "Cause you a junkie." And that was the kind of relationship they had. But they used to close. Every night after the show. Matter of fact, people don't even realize Red used to walk around. He used to keep a Coke spoon around his neck,
Yeah.
and when he used to go in and when they were doing Sanford and Son, they used to sit around the table with the writers and whatnot, and he would come in and with like a bunch of blow and put it on the table and pass it around. Anybody want some? Help yourself. That was him, man. That's what he did. His thing was weed, Grand Marnier, and Coke. That was Red. That was Red used to love that kind of stuff, man. You know. So what can you say?
What can you, you do a great Red, man. I can't wait to see that.
I'm waiting on right now. Like I said, we're I'm talking now with this brother Jamal Williams, and we're in the process of reworking the script to try and get that out there. As a matter of fact, I was approached by there's a theater down here, which is actually the oldest theater in the oldest black theater company in Florida. It's called the M Ensemble, and they're waiting to talk to me now about the rewrites on that because we might be trying to get that show put up down here. So I think that would be a nice little that'll be fun. That'll be fun. So we're working on that now to try and put that together. We wanted to do it in New York, but the person that wanted to produce it was trying to clean it up, and you can't clean up Red. Red was Red.
It was Red.
And even that, he got away with certain stuff. I never forget he had one episode. First time I ever heard somebody say nigga on TV was Red. When Red was walking in, he did this thing with the in the classroom. I mean in the courtroom, and he was saying like what was it? He said, man, look at all these niggas in here. You got so many niggas in here, you could do a Tarzan movie. That's just the way it went.
Yeah, I remember the lie.
They didn't even want LaWanda Page. LaWanda Page was actually his childhood friend.
Childhood, yeah. You remember Skillet and Leroy?
All of them. All of his friends, he got on that show. All of his friends, he got on that show.
Slappy White. I remember when he first did his, they gave him a 1 hour show. And he had a cat that would had tables.
Oh,
he put you remember him?
Yeah, what's his name? I can't remember his name. But they called him like he had a steel jaw or something like that. And he
something
would
like that. Yeah.
hold it in his mouth and hold a whole table up by his mouth.
Spin it around. He had chairs and spin it.
Well, a lot of people don't know that when Red started in comedy, him and Slappy White were a comedy team.
They were a team. Yeah. Yeah. They were a team. They were partners, right?
He was Slappy White was working with another guy, and then eventually him and Red teamed up, and they started doing their thing. The time Slappy White was married to Pearl Bailey, and Red got mad with Pearl Bailey because he felt that she could have really helped their career, and she chose not to. So, and years later they made up when he did a movie with her called Norman, Is That You? So that was another thing, man. So yeah, those are classic things, man. Classic things.
And one thing about Red, he always looked out for his friends. There's no question about it. Loyalty went deep with that brother. He put a lot of people from the Chitlin circuit on.
Yeah. Yeah. He used all of his friends on that TV show. Anybody he could get on that show, he got on that show. And it made the show as great as it was.
Hey, Gil, Dark, I know you was Dark most. I met you on the circuit.
Dark Dark Gable motion. That's when I said, you heard of Clark Gable? Well, I'm Dark Gable. And Chili used to say, well, you ain't that dark. I said, well, I'm darker than Clark. Yeah. Yeah. I remember those days, man.
Yeah. But stories. I remember when I first started like on the road, like, you know, working and doing like the Selman stuff, the Rick Morgan, the John Show, you know, and it was always a Ronnie Wilkerson story. There's always a Ronnie story. Yeah.
Always.
I heard
Always.
Ronnie had burned down a hotel. Gary Grant told me, you know, this is Rob Bartlett's manager. Gary had said, yo, you know, Ronnie, you had such promise.
They
You
had
know,
so
he's
many, had a group of comics, man, that there were always stories about. Matter of fact, when I teamed up with Chili, what was crazy was that him and I had worked together. We went to a comedy where we met in a comedy class, and we worked so well together that everybody was saying, y'all need to team up. We became a team, and then we were supposed to be doing a show somewhere on New Year's. Chili didn't show up. All the material was written for 2 people. I couldn't do it by myself. So we stopped talking, and we didn't talk for a number of years. He teamed up with another cat called T. So it was Chili and T Most. Then those 2 guys split up, and Chili asked me to come back. And then we became the Most Brothers again, and the rest was so it was Dark Gable Most and Chili Most, and the rest was history, man. So we worked for like 25 years, you know. So that was a fun time. We were making some great money back then. Ooh, especially we had a mailing list of over 10,000 people out there in Long Island that we used to do shows for.
Did the governor did all that?
All of them spots out there, we used to make money, man. Especially way out on the island. We used to do the Hamptons and everything. I'll never forget. We worked with Henny Youngman in the Hamptons before he passed.
I know that Vegas money was good money. At Vegas, Atlantic City, it was crazy money.
It was good. The thing about that, we were doing the Tropicana, and the Tropicana on the contracts, they had what you call a 60-day window. You weren't allowed to do any shows 60 days before or 60 days after you did a week in Atlantic City, Las Vegas. So in Atlantic City, you couldn't do any shows in Atlantic City for 60 days before, days after you did the shows out there. And we got a call one day to open up for In Vogue at the Taj Mahal, and we were going to make more money for 20 minutes than we did for a whole week at the Tropicana. So we took that, and it was about, and it was within that 60-day window. I think it was like 45 days or something like that. And the guy that ran the club out there at the Tropicana, he wouldn't hire us after that, you know. But you see how God works. We wound up getting the Riviera out in Vegas, and we wound up doing the Borgata in Atlantic City, and you know that's where we wound up working over there instead. So it was all right. Things happen, man, but it's about regrouping and working.
Regrouping and working, no doubt. It was Ray's room. Ray's and you guys used to do Pips with Ray, right? When Ray had Pips, yeah.
Pips was my original club that I worked solo at before Ray. As a matter of fact, Ray Garvey was the bouncer when I was doing Pips originally. There was Pips was
Seth and Marty
Schultz. Their father owned it, passed it on to them.
George Schultz, right?
George Schultz, right? And that's where I did an open mic out there, and Seth said to me one day, he said, "Yo, man," he said, "I can see you an actor." He said, "Anytime you want to come do the room, come do the room." So, you know, he started booking me, and that's where I basically got my chops. I used to between there, and then I used to do a lot of open mics in the city. But that was as far as Brooklyn. That was my main stomping ground, which was kind of crazy back in the day because that was out in Sheepshead Bay where, You know, they used to beat us with bats out there, so you had to really be careful.
Yeah, it was no joke over there. Especially you walking, by yourself going to a spot. You had to pass all the Italian clubs, and yeah, I've been down that road,
Yeah,
right off Beverly Road, right over there. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was a
Yo,
great.
hey, dog, man. It's been great, man. Uh, so drop your socials. I have. Let me see what I have here. I have your contact. Is that
Well,
email?
I'm on Facebook. Gil Tucker on Facebook. On Instagram, Gil Tucker on Instagram. Uh, I'm I go on and off Twitter, but I don't really mess with Twitter like that.
I
You
ain't.
know, if I want to see something nasty, I go on Twitter.
Listen. Oh, you can stay right on Instagram on the gram. I ain't. I mean, back in the day, we didn't have. I know all the ass, the twerking. Does anybody do they dance? Is there regular dances now? Is the
Yo,
twerk? Everybody's on their phone and the ass and the titties.
all I
They
know
had,
is one thing. All I know is one thing. What scares me is anytime, like I'm on Facebook or Instagram, and I get a friend request from some young, hot, fine babe, I'll be like, what your young ass want with me? Well, I hope you ain't looking for no sugar daddy because I ain't got no money for your ass. You get what I'm saying?
they want you to hit the cash app.
Yeah. They Cash App, and they want you to go, WhatsApp, what's up? I'm like, no. You ain't getting me. You ain't reeling my ass there. I ain't messing around with that. That's like
Yeah,
going to the strip club. You know.
they want you don't go to the strip club and stack the dollars on the bar.
That's a waste of money. Why go to the strip club when I can watch all this stuff at home and go home and beat my own shit? I ain't getting nothing. You walk out of the
It's safe.
strip club broke.
That's
Got no
funny.
time for that. Got no time for that.
Mm-mm-mm. But yeah, so we got all the information. We got Gil Tucker, the contact, there, the email. Tell everybody where you're going to be next, and how do you want to close it out? What do you want to say? Leave the people with.
Well, I'm gonna continue to do my main focus right now is theater. But at the same time I'm doing the stand up. I Matter of fact, I kind of felt like retirement these years that all the clubs was closed and everything. But I came back. That show that I did in New York was the first show that I did since the pandemic. I mean, I did 2 shows down this way, but that really shut everything down. So I'm at the point now where I'm starting to do stand up again. I just finished doing down here. I've been doing they got a lot of condos and stuff. So a lot of these condos hire comedians to come in. So sometimes I go in with my own speaker, my own mic, that type stuff.
Okay.
Instead of having to do an hour. I just as a matter of fact, last night I was in South Beach doing a show down there at a place called the Greystone Hotel. So I'm back to doing stand up. And I can host, I can feature, I can headline. I ain't got no ego, so it's not about where you want me to perform. I will do it all. I work clean, I work dirty. I do clean shows for churches. You name it, I do it. So it's at this point it's about to me doing stand up is doing stand up and acting is an outlet for me. It gives me an opportunity to basically just let all of this stuff out.
Right.
And it's like therapy because I missed it so much when all these things was closed. The only thing that saved me was doing stuff on Zoom. You
I
know,
was going to ask
so
you, how were those shows for you there on Zoom? How did you,
it's
you know,
well, I did some stand up on Zoom. Most of the time, no. As far as stand up, I was doing more fundraising for people like Negro Ensemble Company and stuff like that.
mhm,
So I did more plays. Plays were really fun, doing plays and stuff. So there's always a way to work out. And to me, like I said, being on stage is like therapy. So it's a blessing to be able to do it whenever I get the opportunity. So whether it's stand up, whether it's theater, um, and I'm also, like I said, I've done some film work and stuff. Getting ready to go out to LA next month to do some film work. So it's fun, man. But the good thing about doing what we do is you have so many people that at a certain point in life they're looking to retire. It's like, oh, I'm gonna retire, I'm done. What's crazy is that with us,
we just getting
doing, doing what we do is it's an outlet. It's fun. We ain't thinking about retiring. We just
just
think about
started.
having fun and getting back on that stage and having a good time, man. You
That's all
know,
it's about. And you know what? I got something too. I want to send you and have you take a look over it. Situation comedy I wrote, all right? And it might be something you might be interested in, and we'll talk about it. But while I got you on it now, because I I wrote it specifically for a few people, you know. But then again, you'll take a look. You'll see what's what. All right, I'm not going to say nothing about it, and I have I'll send it, and then you let me know. I got two reality shows also, and I'll
mm,
run some stuff by you on that because you have access. You know people. So we'll come up with something, and let me know what you think. Your honest opinion about this thing. Yeah. So, hey, Gil, I appreciate you, man. I know you was dark, but I told you before. I say, yo,
yo,
uh,
I usually I can tell I can tell who knows me from where by what they call me.
what they
You get what
call
I'm
you.
saying?
Yeah,
If
I
they
know.
if
What?
they call me if they call me dark, I know that they saw me during those years when I was working with the Most Brothers. Actually, I was Dark Gable Most. I was Dark Gable before I teamed up with them, and I just added it on. The reason why I had to change was because Chili owned the rights to the Most Brothers, and once I split
Ah,
off, my manager told me, he said, "Yo, if you continue to use the last name Most, then if you hit something big, Chili be able to
come
get
in.
some money from that." So
Yeah,
we came. Matter of fact, he was the one that said, "Well, look, your name is Gil, your last name is Tucker, which starts with a T. Uh, what about Gil T?" And it started ringing. It started working.
yeah.
So I say I love the name Gil T unless I'm in court. So it's cool.
You know what? I got to give you you get that on that. Yeah,
uh,
but yeah, you know what? That's funny because I forget where I'd heard. I seen, right. I think it was a flyer brochure. I forget. I was looking around. I think he might have been at Gotham, and it was like I said, "Hold up, that's Star." He said, "Gil." I said, "Wait." He said, "Gil T." Something with that, But yeah, so that's how I can I say, and it was sketchy, because I didn't know you and Chili had broke up, and yeah, but uh,
it was
thought it was
the thing
a
about
gimmick,
the problem with the comedy team is that you always got to depend on somebody else. Um,
right?
Whatever's going on, it's like if one person is late, they don't say that that guy was late. They will say, "Oh, the Most Brothers are always late." That
Yeah,
type. Um, so it became a thing whereas and I'll say this, I grew up with Lawrence Fishburne, and him and I were talking one day. Matter of fact, I had brought him out to see one of the shows with the Most Brothers, and he sat down with me one day and he said, "Yo, man," he said, if you had put as much time into your own career as you've put into the Most Brothers, you would have made it years ago." And that always stuck in my mind. And that's one of the reasons why I finally said, look, it was all well and good because I was depending on the Most Brothers to make money. But when it wasn't cost effective anymore, it made sense to go solo and do my thing. So now I feel really good. I don't have to worry about anybody. I only got to depend on myself to be where I have to be and to do what I have to do. I thank God for those opportunities. And Chili and I are still friends. It's just that we've decided to go our own ways, and that's it.
I know, like with groups and comedy, because like now with this generation, there's no teams. Very few duos, comedy teams. Even in music, the collaboration seems to have just disappeared. Rap, even with R&B, just across the board. They solo dolo in the music. Unfortunately for me, just sounds the same. These rappers now. We don't have any, like, back in the day, like Public Enemy or uh Boogie Down Productions,
Wu Tang, yeah,
Wu-
all those different crews, man. Yeah,
and them cats, man, was
yeah.
even Salt and Pepper. You had TLC, you know what I'm saying? So, but these even
Mm.
the females don't even. There's no unity at all. The Migos was the only ones that I know now with the generational thing. It's so unfortunate with Takeoff that got murdered, that got killed. But they were the only group from this generation that did anything together. I don't know what it's about. The
I mean, they
music and
have some, but it's not. And if you notice, the groups that have taken off, a lot of times, are from other countries. You know,
yeah, well,
look at those Korean boys. Those are the groups that are taking off. And the only time that you see a lot of other groups when they come out of retirement to do shows and do tours and stuff like that. And it's very rare because it's become an ego thing. It's just like in this day and age, back in the day, as comedians, we another, we looked out for one. It was a thing that we all basically respected one another and where we were going. Nowadays, it's like it's all about me, 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 me. And in our day, it was a thing where if one of our boys blew up, we were happy for them.
yeah,
Nowadays, it's
yeah.
like if another guy blows up, oh, why'd he blow up? I run into so many comedians from our day that are just so bitter because they never blew up. And they see these other guys that used to open for them that blew up and they're pissed. Look, in the day, Chris Rock used to open for us, feature for us.
I know, I know,
Um,
I know.
my man from the King of Queens, Kevin James, he used to feature for us. We
Yeah.
we never looked at it like, well, we used to headline over those people. No, our whole thing was, we respected them and we were just happy to see them, go to another level. And that was the thing. I never forget, man. I ran into Talent. Talent used to be running around with us back in the day in New York. I ran into Talent down here in Florida. He was doing a show at one of the improvs, and I went into the green room, and there was some other comics there. And Talent said, man, I don't know if y'all know who this brother is, but he said, you looking at comedy royalty here. He said, this dude here was on top when I got started. And they were like, "Nah, we don't know this dude." And I respected that, and that's where we come from as
Right.
comedians. It's not like that anymore. It's not. It's just like I went when I did the show in the city. I was laughing because everybody else on the set had 5-7 minutes, and when they looked on the sheet, these guys were walking in and go, "Well, who's this dude? Why is he getting 20 minutes?" And blah blah blah. What was funny is I hadn't been stage in well over a year. I get on stage up there, and it felt like riding a bike, man. I got back up there, and by the time I got off the stage, other comedians were like, "Now I see why they gave him 20 minutes."
Right.
And I'm not saying that that I'm great or anything. It's just that I'm professional. I've been around for a minute, and
You put your time,
I
man.
know
You came.
I know how to work a mixed audience.
And
That's it. We were one of the few groups that did black comedy, did shows at black clubs and white clubs. Whereas you had certain comics, they couldn't do, if they did white rooms, they couldn't do black rooms. Or if they did black rooms, they couldn't do white rooms. Or if they did, if they were used to doing white rooms, they were scared to do black rooms. If they did black rooms, they were scared to do white rooms. We learned how to cross over, and that's what it's about. And as
you know
long
what?
as it's doing stuff that people can relate to. That's it.
It's interesting you say that because I tell people a story a lot, and I'm gonna drop names because it happened. It's real talk. Uncle Jimmy Mack, James McNair, that passed away, that died in Tracy Morgan's car coming
Tracy
from
Morgan.
Nigeria with Artie
Tracy Morgan.
Fuqua and Trey. Now Trey, check it. I had never met Tracy. And Uncle Jimmy Mack, I was close with him. I had a good relationship. He's like, "Yo, I had Gary Grant had got this room out in Mineola, Chuckles.
Yeah, I
Okay,
remember.
he had a room. He was booking. Did you play Chuckles? You guys ever play Chuckles?
Yeah, we used to do Chuckles.
Okay, and so Gary they wanted to do a black. When Def Jam hit, they wanted to. Everybody wanted to do a Def Jam night, urban
night.
an urban night.
And if you was black, you couldn't get any. You usually couldn't get in those rooms unless you did urban night.
Urban night, yeah, or nigga night. I'm sorry.
That's the real name.
Yeah, I did a room in Ventnor,
Just like the
Jersey. It's just like the Chitlin Circus. Sunday night they reserved for us. They got the music. I walk in. Me, Quentin Hakes, and Ronnie Wilkinson was supposed to be. Yeah, Q. And they booming DMX. It's Sunday night. I'm like, and I see the light, and the owner confronts me. He said, "Yo, man, like we were a little bit late." He said, "I said, the directions you gave me, man, was fucked up." He trying to get in my face about some bullshit. I say it's fucking nigger night here, white cat, redneck cracker. You trying to like confront me about why I'm late, but the directions you gave me was all twisted, and you guys nigger night here. And he got quite backed up, because he said, "All right, this is not one of them. This nigga ain't going for that shit." But anyway, yeah, he left me the fuck alone. It's like you and Chili used to handle your business. You had to do that. But the thing, Tracy Morgan's story was this. Uncle Jimmy Mack said, "Yo, man, you know who Tracy Morgan?" I said, "No, I don't know." He said, "He uptown." That's when he was at the Uptown Comedy Club, right off of the National Black Theater. You know where it's at. You know what I'm talking about. He said he got them niggas. Right. Okay. He said that's when Tunde was there. And he said he got them niggas kicking chairs. Okay, I said, "What you talking about kicking chairs? The fuck is that?" He got George Mason. You got to meet Tracy Morgan. He's the next thing out before he hit. I met him. So all right, I put him on the
That's when Tracy was running around with the propeller hat on.
Propeller. Yeah,
and he went on Martin doing Hustle Man with the little propeller hat. That's where he started up doing that. Yeah.
That's Uptown Comedy Club. And he talking about cheese doodle. Heavy on light on the cheese and heavy on the doodle. Remember that bit? Yeah. So
and that was actually one of our snaps. And you know
Are you
what
serious?
That was one of our snaps. because remember, we brought snaps back. Nobody
I
was
remember.
doing snaps. Chili and I brought it back, and then we had our own little protege. I ain't gonna mention his name, but he took all of our stuff and took it uptown. Everybody stole it from him, and then we were
No,
doing
Mr.
shows in different places.
It, man. Fuck that. Blow him up.
Oh, Fig. And then
Fig took your shit.
Fig took all our stuff uptown, and then next thing you know, we doing shows at different places in the black rooms and there. But we would go on stage and people would be, oh, we just heard that joke. We're like, well, who did? Some other guy. Everybody was stealing our jokes from him. That's
You
how
know what Ronnie Wilkinson told me that you guys got into a big thing with Cortez. Someplace with some of the shit that he did.
Matter of fact, that's exactly what happened. We went to do a show. We got there while Cortez was on stage. Cortez was featuring. We got there, and all of a sudden, we getting ready to go on. We go on. We start doing our stuff, and we said one of our jokes, and they said, "Oh, we heard that earlier." I was like, "What?" So,
shit.
We kept going. We did another joke. Oh, we heard that too. I was like, "What?" So after the show was over, we went to the agent. We were like, "Yo, man, why would you put somebody else on the set with us that's doing our material? You knew this guy was doing our material." So, we talking to him. As we talking to him, Cortez's manager is standing there. And so then Cortez comes over to us and says, "Yo, man, I heard y'all said that I'm stealing your shit." I said, hold on. We didn't say you stole our shit from us directly. What we're saying is you was on stage doing our shit. Now, who you stole our shit from, I don't know, but you were doing our shit. And that's when I said, "Yo, man, you did a couple of bits that I got on tape that we did
years ago,
5 to 10 years ago." And he was
years
like,
ago.
and that's when he was like, "Oh, really?" And like, yeah. And that's when he was like, "Yo, man, my bad. I didn't know." He said, "But I thought y'all was saying that I stole." I said, "What we said was that you was doing our material on stage. I ain't saying you stole it directly from us. You took it from somebody, but whoever you took it from was doing our shit." So, what was funny was a lot of our stuff became stock because of the fact that we've been doing it for years. So people started, I'll never forget when Monteria Ivy started doing the snaps books. The first 2 snaps books had a bunch of our snaps in it that other people took credit for. When they ran out of snaps from everybody else, they came to us.
What? Okay.
And then the third snaps book, a bunch of the snaps in there were written directly by me, because I wrote most of the stuff for the Most Brothers. So that was the nature of the beast. But they would stealing stuff from everybody.
I'm guilty of doing one of your bit. Now I don't know if this was yours or whatever, but I'm guilty. I have to say, Your Honor, I can't even plead fifth on that. I'm guilty. I'm guilty.
We had a bunch of people that were running around. Matter of fact, I'll never forget, we had one joke that we used to do. We were the ones that came up with, "You got any black in you? No, you want some?" Next thing you know, everybody else was doing it.
Hold on. That's yours?
That was ours too.
Because I seen that. I seen Ronnie do that, right? I forget where at.
We had a
but
bunch
I started doing that because that shit is fun.
Yo, a lot of our snaps we wrote.
I didn't know that was yours. Yeah.
A lot of our snaps that we wrote, people took it and ran with it. A lot of our jokes that we did, people took it and ran with it. And you know what it is that people hear you say a joke and they go, "Oh, that was funny." So then another comedian, "Yo, man, you hear this joke? Blah, blah, blah." The person go, "Yo, man, I never heard that joke. That's funny. I'm going to do it." So in those cases, look, it happens. People jokes become stocks, or somebody hear a funny joke and write it in a book. Next thing you know, everybody doing that joke. But we had tons of jokes that basically that happened to. And yo, man, the only time I got pissed off was if I worked with somebody that seen me do the joke, and then you get on stage while I'm doing the show you go on before us and you do one of my jokes before I go on stage. That to me was totally disrespectful. But
We got a problem.
But if you're doing, I'll never forget who was it. I was talking to one comedian. Me and Chili was talking, and we were bitching about how people were stealing all our stuff. And the other comedian was like, "Yo, man, not for nothing." He said, "If I'm working with somebody or I'm working in another place in the country, and I heard a joke by another comedian, and I figure, well, hey, this guy ain't never gonna work in this crowd, or that guy ain't never gonna do this joke over here. I'm gonna do their shit." And look, back in the day, some of the comedians that blew up were thieves. Look at
Rich,
Robin
Richard,
Williams. Robin
Richard
Williams.
Bell.
If
Yeah.
if Robin Williams walked into the comedy store, everybody tried to find their B material to do because they were afraid to do their A material because they knew that Robin Williams would take their shit and do it. And that's just I remember we did certain material and they had another comedian that blew up doing some of our stuff. And people would say, like, we would go on stage and we do that bit, and then people go, "Yo, that's so-and-so." Nah, that was ours, but that was the nature, man.
Nature of the beast. And
I didn't cry.
Not to cut you, but you know what they say? They say the bit is not yours, the joke is not yours until it's done on TV. Right?
Exactly. And that's why certain material, as soon as we got an opportunity to do TV, we would do it on TV to make sure that nobody else could steal it. But at the same time, that was the way it went. That was the way it went. People would see your stuff and go, "Yo, that's funny." And if you weren't around, they were doing it. Next thing you know, they started getting if they went on TV and did it, everybody said, "Oh, that was it." We had another comedian that went on TV and did our bits, did a couple of our bits, because we had some good fat bits that we used to do. And he took it and did it on TV. And everybody thought it was his bit. That was just the way. What I found out is you can't, huh?
Was that Parisi?
You can't. What was his name?
The work that Pips, the big Italian kid,
big heavy set guy.
Big Parisi.
I think it was. I think he was seeing Lisa Lampanelli, and Lisa Lampanelli stole all of his stuff once he passed away, and started doing it. But we had Amico.
Oh, Frank.
Big Frank.
Big Frank.
He used to use
what's his name in Yonkers.
He used to do some of our fat. He used to do some of our fat stuff, and we had no qualm with it because of the fact that he came to us and said, "Yo, man, if it's cool with you guys, you mind if I do some of your fat stuff?" We was like, "As long as you ain't on the set with us, no problem," because we liked Frank.
He asked you, because he could have just. He could have went, up in Tannersville, someplace, some bumfuck where, nobody would have been the wiser. I walked in the Pips one night. Herbie Keonis is up on stage and he's killing with my routine. I was kind of, was fucked up on one time. Yeah, Herbie, it's my man. It's my man. And God bless it, that Rich Ramirez was there. And, I know Herbie took my shit because we used to work out together at Small's Paradise. And I got beeped off the stage because you couldn't use offensive language. And remember, Kim Smith? Kim was running that room, and I got beeped off. So I know, and Herbie used to be there, Rich and stuff, and Mitch Kaiser, who started out with Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy used to say, if it wasn't for Mitch Kaiser, I wouldn't be here. Mitch, that was the thing. Mitch Wood.
Quick story. A lot of people don't know that Eddie Murphy was not the first choice for Saturday Night Live.
Charlie Barnett.
There was a comedian named Charlie Barnett who was hilarious. And Charlie had got the spot on Saturday Night Live, and then they found out he couldn't read. When they found out he couldn't read, That's when Eddie Murphy got that spot and Eddie Murphy blew up. But that was and Charlie was killing at the time because he was doing Miami Vice. He was the Noogie Man on Miami Vice.
He was,
And he was
and
in a movie. He was in another movie. He was in a movie about some cab drivers. What was the DC Cab?
yeah.
And he killed in that too. Matter of fact, he gave us one of our best routines. We were because we used to hang out with him in Washington Square Park.
Okay.
And Charlie was doing a routine, and we walked up, and Charlie said, oh, he said, yo, that's my boys, the Most Brothers. He said, let me tell you about the Most Brothers. He said they actually stepbrothers because his father stepped over him to get to his mother, and the audience fell out laughing. And we said, yo, Charlie, can we use that shit? He said, yo, man, use that shit. That's for y'all. That's for y'all. And we used to open the show with that. We said, yeah, we stepbrothers. My father, and we used to say together, my father stepped over him to get to his mother. And that was but that was Charlie Barnett. Charlie was a beast, man. Charlie was a beast.
It's like Rick Aviles.
Oh man!
If you talk about Charlie, you got to talk about Rick. You got to put them in the
Rick Aviles. Believe it or not, Rick Aviles had a comedy team partner named Xerox.
I mean, listen, I used to work out with Xerox back in the day. We used to go to Mostly Magic, Who's on First, the Triple N, all them rooms that was hell rooms. But that's where you got your legs. You got your Xerox. Xerox was incredible, man.
Yo, Xerox was Xerox. Remember Xerox used to do Columbo? That was his main thing. He used to do Columbo. Pardon me. He was great with that. But they all came out of Washington Square. They were the first comedians to do Washington Square Park.
Albert Owens.
Albert used to get pissed off. I never forget, we were hanging out with Charlie one night, and Albert was out there with his little speaker doing his set in the middle of Washington, in the fountain area, doing his stuff. And Charlie walked up. He said, anybody seen Charlie walking up? So a group of us went over to go talking to Charlie. So Charlie said, yo, look, we're going to steal all of his people. He said, what I'm going to do is this. He said, I'm not going to tell a joke. He said, I'm just, and that's what it was. And when I say that, I want y'all to bust out laughing and start screaming like it's the funniest thing you ever heard. And all of his people going to come over here. And he did that. And sure enough, everybody started applauding. Everybody left Albert, came over to him, and Albert was pissed. Albert came and set up behind the crowd with his speaker, and he started talking. And Charlie was like, yo, man, you done lost the crowd. Get your black ass out of here, man. Oh, man. But Albert you could find Albert in the Village. Sometimes you catch him on 42nd Street, but he was always around the place, man. I remember Albert well, man.
He used to come in the club too. I worked with him few times in club, because some of those cats, man, because the money was better in the streets for them, especially Charlie. He in one little set, he might get $500-600, man, just passing the hat, just Charlie, some 15-minute spot. Charlie, but he had that crack cocaine habit, man, and that's the only thing that brought Charlie down. I worked with Charlie into his tour when he was I was out in you ever worked that room? Yeah.
That's when Charlie was going around doing what was funny was he had changed a poem. The poem was about heroin. And he changed it to about crack cocaine. And but it was like a poem that basically was telling you not to do drugs and all that kind of stuff. And then you walk in the bathroom and Charlie was in there. And I was like, Charlie, man, well, I'll never forget, we were hanging out with Charlie he had just came home from Miami doing Miami Vice. He had a bunch of money in his pocket. Burned through that money in a matter of a couple of days. Turned around, did a set, got all this money, cut a set short. He only did about 10 minutes. Took that money and he was like, yo, Most Brothers, come on, walk with me. So we walking with him and he's like, We like, yo, Charlie, where you going? Man, he said, man, just most brothers, watch my back, man. Watch my back. You motherfucker, watch my back. All right. So we walking with him. So we walk with him to the east side, and he goes over there. He comes back out. We know he got some crack. We like, Charlie, man, why you messing with this crack, man? You don't need. Here go Charlie. Yo, most brothers, just use me as an example of what not to do, motherfuckers. You heard me say? Use me as an example. So we walk. So then he goes in this little vestibule. He come out high as hell. We like, Charlie, man, why you doing this shit? He said, yo, man, what I told you. Just use me as an example of what not to do. Then we walk down the street a little bit farther. He runs into this pregnant crackhead. Oh, she looked bad. Hair a mess, clothes a mess. And she was like, Charlie. He was like, yo, most brother, man, I'm going in the hotel with this hoe here. And I'm like, yo, Charlie, man, you can have anybody. Why you messing with that crackhead? He's like, what I told y'all. Just use me as an example of what not to do. Charlie was hilarious, man.
He was funny, man. He was funny.
And he died from, both him and Rick died from AIDS.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. But Rick Aviles, a lot of people don't even realize Rick Aviles was like the original host of the Apollo on TV.
Yeah.
You know, and then who was the next person was Rick Aviles was the first one. And then I don't know what it was. I think it was Sinbad, and then Steve Harvey.
Harvey was after Sinbad, because Sinbad was, like you say, right after Rick. I did three dates with Sinbad, and you know, from when I did the Apollo, you know, that I made it through. You know, so
and thank God, we did the Apollo 3 different times, never got booed. Thank God for that.
Yeah, but once they liked you, you know, they gave it up, because you got to come. You know the deal. You got to hit them and hit them hard. There's a gimmick to it.
You got to keep your foot on the gas. You got the thing about it is you doing like 3 minutes, but that 3 minutes, the key to it is, if you're doing the Apollo, you can't get lackadaisical. You got to keep your foot on the gas. It's like being in a fight. You got to keep punching the whole time you're up there, because as soon as you relax, you're gonna get booed.
Yeah, the crowd they recognize that. That's like Jetta Jones. Remember Jetta?
I remember Jetta.
Jetta was rocking. She came out and she was banging. She was doing her thing, and she had him. And then she settled in, like it was a club. Like she working the room. You're not working the room with your Apollo, baby. Like you said, you got to keep your foot on the gas. I worked. I played the Fever in the Bronx, 160 over there. Right before it closed, right before it got shot up, I was there, and it was a hell of a thing. But they had Barry B, Millie Mel, them cats walked in the room. You could smell. That's when crack first came out. You could smell the crack in the room. You know, I walked over in the back, and Mr. Magic and Sweet G, they back there, they doing their thing, right? They getting lit up, and the crowd.
What's that playing?
That's my phone. You know.
You know, the room that was I'd say one of the roughest rooms in the tri-state area was Terminal D's.
That was well that was, come on, that's Newark. I was with Terry Hodges, with Willie Ashford, because we used to play Willie. Remember Willie? And then we used to play East on East Orange, Bogies. I don't know if you did Bogies. That's Cool in the Gang. Ronald Bell used to come back.
We were managed by Cool in the Gang's management for a while. A lot of people
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
you remember
managed Buzz Willis.
Bob Sumner used to come by with Bill Bellamy.
Well,
before
Bob,
Bill would stand up.
Before people didn't even realize Bob Sumner was actually the DJ at Terminal D's.
Right.
And then he decided to start managing Bellamy.
Ninth Avenue Management.
And then they went over and started Club 88s. And then it went from Club 88s to the Peppermint Lounge.
Right. Because I took that over. over after Bill went to Cali. I was they gave me a nice little budget because I had a budget with that room I told you in Mineola.
Uh-huh.
The story was when you were talking about with a lot of black comics that only played black rooms were scared to play the white rooms, and they didn't know how to transition, and the comics. When Uncle Jimmy turned me on to Tracy, first time I met Tracy, I put him on the show. It was Tracy Morgan, Uncle Jimmy Mack, and Face Man. Remember Face?
Oh man, let me quick story about Face.
Let me finish the story real quick.
Okay, okay, yeah,
Let me
yeah,
finish.
go ahead, go ahead.
Because this, on tagging on what we were talking about earlier
Yeah, go ahead.
about how scared. And Tracy, I put him on, and then because I had a weekend at Mineola's, right? Anyway, so Tracy, I come in and I bring up Face Man first. He comes in, and Uncle Jimmy. There's no music. The black rooms you got to be brought up to music. Uncle Jimmy said, yo, George Mason, let these motherfuckers know that I got to be brought up to hot pants. You got to go back there and handle that shit. So, but I said, hold on, I got to bring up. So I bring out Tracy Morgan, right? That's what it was. And I had Trey up first. And I go in the back to talk to the owner's sister who was managing the club about, having us being brought up to music. She said, okay, I'll have it wind up. I'm so sorry, da da da. I just brought Tracy up, maybe 3 minutes. I come back in the room, Uncle Jimmy's on the stage. I said, yo, I asked the crowd, it's, mixed crowd. I said, what happened? Like, where's Tracy? Where's Tracy Morgan at? Uncle Jimmy said, get your little ass up here, George Mason. Fuck that. Just get the fuck up. He's going off. I'm like, what's wrong with this dude? And I go in the back. I see Tracy. He's crying. He's fucked up. He's twisted. He's crying. My hand and everything. I said, yo, B, what happened? He said, yo, George, I'm sorry, man. I fucking owe you, da da da, man, da da. He never played in front of a white audience before. My hand and everything. And I don't gonna lie, because Uncle Jimmy Mack, like I said, turned me on to the brother. I would not lie on something like that. I'm true to this, not new to this. And yeah, that's Tracy. And he worked for me. He worked for me at Club 88, in that room in Chuckles, and but that's just how it goes. That's just as you said before. It's the nature of the bit. Tell me your story. What happened with what were you talking about?
Well, when I met Face Man, Chili and I were we were in the Apollo Comedy Hour, and we're in the at the time Holden was downstairs, and then you come upstairs and hit the stage, and Face Man was walking around there talking about how he was funnier than Eddie Murphy. He was funnier than Richard Pryor. He was funnier than Red Fox. And I told him, I pulled him to the side. I said, yo, young man, I said, not for nothing. I said, yo, you not for nothing, you're good, but don't ever disrespect the people that paved the way for you to get where you're going. I said, you'll be happy one day if your name is mentioned along with those other names. But don't ever walk around here talking about you better than this person, you better than that person. I said, because that's totally disrespectful. Because if it wasn't for those people, you wouldn't be able to do what you're doing today. I'll never forget that. And sure enough, he had a rough set that show. Show.
Okay. He used to do that comedy, tragedy, bullshit. Listen, everybody does what they do or whatever. I used to get high with Face Man. He used to come up. I was on 123rd Manhattan Avenue. He used to come up. He smoked. He used to get high, smoked, and all that. I don't know what he's doing now, but
I heard he's back. I heard he's back. But back then, like I said, he was walking around. And then at one point I heard he got strung out, just like Charlie, and things got a little, and then he disappeared for a minute, but I heard he's supposed to be back on the scene doing comedy. Somebody told me that recently, but that was the thing, man. Certain comics were really good comedians, and then you had certain comics that were all right,
They're
but
right. Yeah.
they were all right, but you know, it was the thing was what was surprising was sometimes it wasn't how good you were, sometimes it was who was handling your career, and if you had the right person managing you,
Dave
handling your career,
Chappelle,
you would blow up. You would blow up, you know,
Dave
and that,
Chappelle with Barry Katz in Boston, Boston comedy. You know, right? Because Dave had
well,
that
Dave came out of DC.
he came up, but he had Barry Katz. He had those cats
Barry
with
Cat, yeah,
Boston comedy.
exactly.
Yeah, but
But
like what you're saying is 100%
who was it?
because
Masavia was the one that took him under his wing, and then because Masavia worked under Barry Katz,
right, right.
you
But
know.
with that whole, they packaged him. Dave was a millionaire by the time he was maybe 17, 18. All the development deals that they had for him, you know, they like you said, it's who had him, who could handle you, you know, who like Rob Bartlett and Gary Grant,
Barry
right?
Grant, yeah.
Gary, you know, Gary ate off of Gary ate off of Rob for years, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and it was that's how that went down. You know, there's a lot of like Bob Sumner, Bill Bellamy, and because Bill, they used to come by and watch us over there at Bogies. Watch this. Then when Terry Hodges, when we would go across town to Terminal D's. How did y'all do at Terminal? That shit, tell the people that was a hell room. That shit
Believe,
was like
believe it or not, we never got. Well, see the difference between Terminal
bullshit
D's
at
and
you.
other rooms. They didn't boo you. Somebody would come up and ring the damn bell next to the stage and shit till you get your ass off the stage, right?
Get off the stage, yeah. That's brutal.
We never got the bell rang on us at Terminal D's. We always had a good set. I'll never forget
If you have,
we
y'all
worked
had,
with,
y'all got
yeah, we got good laughs over there. The person I never forget was it Faison George? Faison.
you talked, yeah. The one was a good friends with Mark Overton. You talking
The
about Faison?
heavy set. Yeah.
He
He
was in a movie with Chris Tucker.
yeah, he does a lot of movies. Yeah. I never forget he was in there one day and he was struggling real hard. And this dude got up to go ring that damn bell. And Faison looked at me, he said, yo, he had on some boots that night. He said, motherfucker, you touched that bell. He said, see this boot? He said, that bell is close enough to me. He said, you touch that bell, I'll kick the shit out your ass. And the dude started laughing. He said, you know what? That's the funniest shit you said all night. And he went and sat back down. And, I'll never forget that night, man. But yeah, we came up with a lot of people, man. A lot of people. And you know, it was just nice to see some of our crew make it to that next level. You know, I never forget when we taped Def Jam, I think that was before Martin had even blew up. You know, he was on, and for years, I never forget the first couple of seasons, they wouldn't put us on Def Jam, and we were like, "Yo, man, we've been busting our ass. You know what we do." So I'll never forget the night that they decided to put us on. I had worked on a real nice, nasty ass routine for Def Jam because I said we ain't getting booed on this bitch. And we went to go do it, and we sitting in the dressing room, and I think it was Bob in the dressing room. He said, "Yo, man, yo, fellas," he said, "Do you think you guys can work clean? Because we trying to change the image of Def Jam." I said, "Man, Bob," I said,
You know,
Bob, we've been waiting for years on this shit. You know we ain't working this shit clean." I said, I worked on this routine for years to make sure that we got some good shit to go over. And that's the night we did the routine. Matter of fact, who was on the set with us? What's the little Spanish dude from Carlos Mencia was on the set with us.
you're not even Spanish, but I know you're talking about. Yeah.
He's Spanish. He's from Honduras, though. He say he's from Mexico. He's from Honduras. Anyway, he goes up.
Joe Rogan put him in check.
Yo, he went up there. We went up there, and we got away with we did our snaps, and what it was that we started, and then I left the stage. Chili started doing a routine. I went in the audience because that's how we used to do it, and then I started snapping on them from the audience, and they filmed that whole thing. That was like we had a ball that night. We had a ball, you know. But that was the night we did that. But yeah, man. Good times, yo, man. We were supposed to do an hour. It's over 2 hours now. We on this bitch.
Well, yeah, man. But I gotta bring you back. But you know, because I gotta work some of the kinks out. This is the first show on this platform, so you know, hey, listen, I appreciate you. I respect you, man, for years. Everybody should always look up to the Most Brothers. Everybody, you know, whether you know it or not. Like I said, when I was on the road, white boys and stuff, that the Most Brothers, da da da. They had Most Brothers story, and then they had a Ronnie Wilson story. So, but I want to thank you, man, for blessing my show up. You know, coming out, and yo, man, much success to you, continued success, and Gil Tucker, everybody. God bless you, brother. Thank you.
Yo, George, thank you for having me, man. Still a hell of you still.
No doubt.
That's my brother. God bless. Blessings, man.
Yeah. All day, all night, yo.
Man.
Always.
All right.
All the best to you, brother.
All right, man.
We'll do another hour. We don't really leave and shit.